Hello, Grumpy Old Fart here. I'm doing a movie review of James Bond movies of the post-Cold War era. Um, kind of recap some of my other stuff. My brother wanted me to do the Bond movies as movie reviews, and I love all the Bond movies. They're all great. The problem that I had was I was looking through the different titles, and I realized virtually all the Bond movies are almost identical. He's the good guy. He saves the world from the bad guy. The stunts are different, the bad guys are different, you know, but the plot is very, very similar in all of them. Some of the bad guys' plots are very intricate, but the underlying premise is pretty much the same. So rather than go movie by movie, excuse me, I'm doing the different eras. I did the Sean Connery era, and then I did the Roger Moore era. And for the Roger Moore era, I included George Lazenby. He did one movie. Okay, so those two are, go check those out. All right, in this one, I'm doing the post-Cold War era. And for those of you who don't know, James Bond is generally a Cold War era character. He was dreamed up, as I understand it, invented during the latter part of World War II, and he was put as an intelligence agent. He was put out shortly after World War II, and he became popular during the Cold War. So that was his genre, was Cold War era uh, intrigue, and it was great. The problem is, when the Cold War ended, the character was forced to evolve, and to illustrate this evolving, I've got two different James Bond actors. I'm going to do Timothy Dalton and Pierce Brosnan. Timothy Dalton finished out the Cold War, and he did two movies. He did the last James Bond from the actual Cold War, and then he did the first James Bond post Cold War. Okay, and I think Timothy Dalton could have had a longer run, provided they had figured out what they wanted to do with the character, how they could have evolved the character successfully. At the time, I don't think they really knew. But let me go into the movies here. He did The Living Daylights in 1987, and man, that's a good Bond movie. There's nothing wrong with that. It's got everything it's supposed to have stuff. Pretty girl, car stunts, uh, car chases, technology, everything. I mean, it's brilliant. The whole movie is good. There's nothing wrong with it. Great movie. And then in 1989, he did License to Kill, and that one, there was something wrong with that movie. Like I said, I don't think it was Timothy Dalton's fault. I think it was the writing, because they weren't sure how to evolve the character yet, and he got stuck with the first run. So, you know, and License to Kill, the Living Daylights was like I said, was an excellent Bond movie, but License to Kill was a complete departure from previous Bond films, and was, in my opinion, and basically an action movie with a James Bond title. It was one of those where the bad guys hurt your friend and you go out for revenge, and and that's a good plot. It happens a lot in action movies, but it's not a James Bond plot. You see what I'm saying? Now, after that movie, Timothy Dalton was out, and they put in Pierce Brosnan. Pierce Brosnan is one of the better James Bond. He's not as good as, definitely not as good as Sean Connery, and he's almost up there with Roger Moore, but he definitely, he's probably equal to George Lazenby. Lazenby was good. I liked him. He only did one movie, but I liked what he did. Pierce Brosnan made four films. He made Goldeneye in 1995, which was brilliant. Everybody loved that, and it's got one of the great car chases. The bad guys are in a little sedan, and he's driving a tank, a Russian tank. Then he did Tomorrow Never Dies in 1997. He did The World Is Not Enough in 1999, and he did Die Another Day in 2002. Um, Goldeneye, Tomorrow Never Dies, and The World Is Not Enough were all brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. Die Another Day took Bond. It, there has always been a slight amount of science fiction in James Bond movies, with the fantastic technology and things like that. This took it a little bit too far, in my opinion. genetic recoding and resequencing and that kind of thing. So I think this was going to be the last one of Pierce Brosnan. And I'm not saying, and it's nothing against Pierce Brosnan. Again, I think it's the writing. They were trying to, at the time, I think cloning was a big deal. Genetic questions in medicine were a problem. So I think that's what they were trying to do here. But I think they went overboard a little, and it kind of dampened the movie. But that's my opinion. But you got to see the movie yourself to make your own opinion. I'm not going to tell you what to think. These movies are James Bond dealing with the harsh realities. The Pierce Brosnan movies are James Bond dealing with the harsh realities of the intelligence work around the world, and they're all really good. I'm not going to say Die Another Day isn't good, because it is, but I just think they took the genetic manipulation a little bit too far, to be a James Bond movie. Now, but that being said, it's still a good movie. The stunts are good, the action's good, the plot's good. It's really, really good. One of the good things about these movies is Pierce Brosnan plays, I don't want to say a more worldly James Bond, but a more modern James Bond. And he does it well. He can talk his way out of a fight, or he can fight his way out of a fight. He doesn't rely on the... During the Cold War, you knew who the bad guys were. It was set. The battle lines, as it were drawn. And after the Cold War, there's threats from virtually every angle. You've got rogue countries, you've got terrorists, you've got, the old world dominating, corporate bigwig. They're all in there. And in these movies, Pierce Brosnan, basically his character as James Bond, is picking up the pieces after the Cold War. And he does it well. He's believable. He's a hell of a good actor. If you get a chance to see his movies, any James Bond movie is good. I'm not going to say any of them are bad. But, in my opinion, License to Kill left something to be desired as a James Bond movie. But it was still a pretty good movie. The stunts were good. The action was good. The acting was good. The good part about License to Kill is you got to see Q out in the field. It was pretty good. But, a departure from him usually being stuck in the lab. So, but anyway, if you get a chance to see these, I highly recommend all of them. I recommend every James Bond movie. They're all good. But they have their genre. They have they have their place. And after the Cold War, Bond had to evolve. And, if you're going to still make Bond movies, it can't be Cold War James Bond, because the Cold War was over. It's got to be modern. And here's your post-Cold War James Bond. You folks have a good day. God bless one and all.